Perfect. Awesome. Okay, so hopefully everyone can see my screen and everything's okay. So yeah, thank you so much, guys, for coming today. Everyone who came and everyone who's going to be continuing to roll in, hopefully, thank you so much for coming out today. I hope everyone is doing good and staying healthy during these times, and everyone is taking care of themselves and taking some time to go to the gym, eat some healthy food, and relax. So thank you again. So yeah, it's my session number 4. As always, my name is Vinay Verma. My Gmail is down below right here. Let me just get my pen to start working. Perfect. And then my Instagram handle is down there as well. So if you need to contact me on any form, any of those platforms, you can contact me on either my Gmail or my Instagram. My Gmail, I'll be really responsive though. So if you have any specific questions for me or something particularly, you can hit me up on that Gmail, and I would love to speak to any of you guys. So this is the roadmap of where we are. So we're on session 4 this week. So intermittent fasting this week. I know a lot of you have heard about this topic. We're gonna talk about that in more detail a bit later, but it's just a roadmap for now. You can see sessions 5 to 10 there as well. I'm going to be adding more sessions 11, 12, 13 and show you what those sessions will be on by next time. So a little roadmap here to kind of see what how we're doing with the sessions. So, and then housekeeping as always. Yeah, if you're new and you didn't get my email last night, or if you're not on my email blast, please, put your email in the Zoom chat because I would love to get a hold of you guys for any new changes to my sessions. But they'll always be the same Zoom link, same time and everything, but just to kind of give you that Zoom ID every week, that will be on the emails. And yeah, same Zoom ID. And also, if you have a good time today, and if you've been coming for the last 3 weeks now, please just try and tell one friend, each of you who might be interested and who might benefit from my sessions. The biggest thing is I want to make sure this information gets out to the community, because the fitness industry is very interesting in the sense that a lot of the information, quite frankly, isn't true or is not beneficial to a lot of people and steers a lot of people wrong. And I want to make sure that the right information gets out there, and that you guys can be advocates in your community to make sure that people are pointed in the correct directions, and not to directions where people want to just make money off you. So basically, if you know anybody that might be interested in these sessions and might be interested in fitness or wanting to know more about anything, please put them in the directions of my sessions. I would love to have them. And yeah, as always, please subscribe to my YouTube. I'm actually going to be filming a workout video this weekend with a friend and posting it on my YouTube very soon. So yeah, so keep posted for that. So that's going to be coming up pretty soon. Just a quick session 3 recap. So like I said, at the start of every session, I love to do like a recap of the one before, just so we can get in the frame of mind, because like I said, every session will build on the past one. This is why I highly recommend that if you were not able to see my last session, it's not a big deal, but I would highly recommend that after this, you go and watch those sessions, because each session will build on concepts from the previous sessions, because that's just how fitness works. You need to accumulate knowledge to move on to the next thing. So please watch my previous videos. They're all recorded. Every session is going to be recorded, and that's going to be on my YouTube. So perfect. So yeah, so we talked about ab workouts. We talked about, how does one get abs? What does one do? So we talked about the 2 different types of cells that are really important when it comes to our understanding of how to build abs in their background information section. So we talked about muscle cells, which are called myocytes, and fat cells called adipocytes. And essentially what we said is that you cannot convert one cell into another cell. No amount of ab workouts will burn your abdominal fat, and you need to be in a calorie deficit. So what that means is that by you doing crunches, you can't spot reduce that fat. So a lot of people think, okay, I want to lose belly fat, I'm going to do crunches to burn that fat. No, you're going to be building that muscular tissue underneath that fat, because you're going to be increasing the size of your myocytes, right? But your adipocytes are still over top of that. So we need to reduce that overall body fat. So what we need to be doing is being in a calorie deficit. So less calories in than out, a calorie deficit. If you want to look more into the calorie deficit, please look into my sessions 1 and 2. And there we really dived into what a calorie deficit it is, how to track, your maintenance calories, how to be in a calorie deficit, everything you could ever imagine to do with tracking your calories is going to be in my past sessions, my past 3 sessions. So please take a look at that if you haven't already. And if you were trying to get abs, and if you want to know what the breakdown is, it really is 99% diet and 1% gym. And I'm not, overselling this in the sense that you really need to be consistent with your diet because you need to be at a low enough body fat for you to see the muscle, basically the muscular tissue underneath that body fat. So no amount of ab workouts will ever get you abs solely if you have too much body fat over those muscles. So we need to keep that in mind. And yeah, like I said, no amount of workout will ever beat a bad diet. What I mean is that, let's say we showed this pie chart last time. If we spend around 1 hour approximately the day in the gym, that's, you know, the average workout for most individuals takes around 1 hour. And to say there's 24 hours in a day, that means 23 hours in the day. The time when you're not working out, that's 23 hours in a day when you're not working out. And then 1 hour in a day when you are working out. So what you're doing in those 23 hours, that big, you know, this pink area here, will definitely overtake this one sliver of orange part here. So that means that what you eat, your sleep, your general exercise, how many steps you get, that will trump what you do in that 1 hour in the gym when it comes to you attaining abs. So a lot of people think that, oh, I went to the gym today, you know, I ran a treadmill for 20, 30 minutes. I can eat what I want for the rest of the day because I did my job. I went in the gym. Absolutely not. The gym is supposed to complement or supplement your daily, it's supposed to supplement your daily diet. It doesn't take over your diet. So what that means is that the time you spend in the gym will just be an additional help for you to get to your fitness goals. It won't overtake everything. And that means, you know, when I'm not in the gym, I can do whatever I want. So this is a really important schematic saying that no workout in the world will ever beat a bad diet. And we also talk about where we, you know, can we choose where we lose fat? And no, like, you can't spot reduce fat. It's a fact. It's all completely arbitrary. Like I said, your body just wants to live. It doesn't really care specifically about where it gets that fat from. It doesn't know that it's beat season and you want to get abs. It just knows, hey, I need to live. I need to burn fat and then use that fat for energy. So the biggest thing, as I talked about, you know, the general like bullseye arrow hypothesis is that, you know, you just need to be in a calorie deficit long enough for your body to happen to pick up fat from the places where you want to remove. So let's say that you have, like I said, you had like a bullseye, or you had a dartboard. And if you just throw one dart with the blindfold on, the chances that you'll hit a bullseye are pretty small. But if you throw around 100 darts, the chances that you hit a bullseye are now larger. What that means is that the longer amount of time you spend in a calorie deficit, the chance that you'll burn fat from the area you want to burn fat, aka the bullseye, is higher chance. So the longer you stay in a calorie deficit, the better chance you have of burning fat from the area in which you want to burn fat from. That being said, it's all completely arbitrary, but the whole thing is that if you're in a calorie deficit for a long enough time, you will end up burning fat from the areas you want, but you can't decide this based on the workouts you do. And like I said, there is no 8 minute, 2 weeks abs. I see this all the time on YouTube and article, everything, you know, most of the time it's just random ab workouts that won't help you burn the fat. You can't get abs this quick. Depending on your initial body fat levels, you're looking for around 4 months to a year. So you're in it for the long haul and you got to be consistent. So the classic fitness industry tactic of reeling you in by saying get abs in 1 week, 2 weeks, it's just not true. It will never be true. So just keep that in mind, that the time scale to achieve certain physique you want might be longer than expected. And that's normal. It's just that sometimes the fitness industry skews what our beliefs of a relatively normal time scale should be. So then I want to come back to this general question now, like, am I truly, you know, wasting my time with workouts? And this came to a question we had at the end of last session, which was really great. And one of our participants here brought up information about, you know, ab workouts are important. They're important for core stability. They're important for making sure your whole posterior chain is healthy. And you know what? If you're thinking about core workouts, you're not absolutely wasting time. No, as long as you know why you're doing them. Okay, so if you know why you're doing those ab workouts, and if you understand what you can and cannot do with those ab workouts, then if you're informed, then by all means, please do those ab workouts, because they help strengthen a lot of parts of your body specifically. So as long as you do them with a different goal than just attaining abs, then yes, all right. But if you're doing them with the goal to just get abs and burn belly fat, then you're never going to be satisfied, because they won't do that. What they do is increase your core strength for a number of sports and your posterior chain health. So your posterior chain includes areas like your transverse abdominis and your lower back. A lot of individuals, when they get older, have lower back pains, and mainly this can be mitigated when they're younger. If they did more core exercises, this would increase the strength of their posterior chain, increase their abdominal strength. So then when they get older, their posture won't be sacrificed and they'll have a stronger core. So my recommendation is that, if you have a mainly aesthetic goals, I just want to have abs, and I don't really care specifically about the strength, and you know what, then maybe focus more on the diet and just general consistency in the gym, and not so much waste your time with the ab workouts. And just generally, when you do things like squats and presses, brace your core when you do those things. But if you have the goal of actually improving your overall core strength and your posterior chain health, if you want to, have less lower back pains and things like that, then yes, please continue with ab workouts, any core workouts, because they will help you later on in life with sports, and even things like different pains in your back, and of course, general body health and movement. So please keep those up. As you get older, you should actually increase the amount of core workouts you do, simply because you might be certain risk with osteoporosis and bone health. I would recommend doing core workouts just to make your core and your posterior chain stronger, to mitigate any risks with injury. So just keep that in mind. I still think you should do them, but just know why you're doing them. If you're doing them with a goal purely just to get abs and burn belly fat, then you're not going to be satisfied. You need to be in a calorie deficit for that. Awesome. So on to session 4 now. That's a little recap of session 3. Like I said, I will always do these recaps, because I think it's important that, like I said, each session builds on the next, and we need to kind of go through what we talked about last time to kind of go into this one. So now we're talking about intermittent fasting. So seems like everybody, all of a sudden, I felt like I woke up one day and everybody was intermittent fasting, right? I mean, it wasn't that big of a thing, and then it really took the fitness industry by storm. Everyone seems to do it. A lot of people say it's great. A lot of people say it's not. So we're going to delve into what the whole deal is with intermittent fasting, and if it's a good strategy. Is it really, is it just a simple fad like a lot of diets, or is it, does it have some benefit to it? So we're going to start about that. But before we get into that specifically, as always, we're going to go into our background information so we can understand, what this dietary strategy is trying to accomplish. So our body has 2 main hormones that regulate hunger, right? So we have leptin, okay? This hormone is essentially secreted from our fat cells. Remember, our fat cells are called adipocytes from section 3, and we talked about it earlier in this session right now. And that's responsible for making you feel full. So what happens is that when we eat a large meal, this hormone will signal from our adipose tissue, meaning our fat, and will go directly to our brain, an area called hypothalamus. Not that important, but basically that hormone will travel from your fat cells to your brain and telling you to stop eating. It will say, hey, I'm full, you're good. And then the next one, ghrelin. So ghrelin is secreted from your stomach, and it does the exact opposite. It's responsible for making you feel hungry. So it signals to your brain to tell you to eat. So if you're hungry, ghrelin will come with a vengeance, and it'll say, hey, you need to start eating, and that will come to signal at your brain. You can see in the schematic here to the right, there's like a little balancing scheme here. You can see before eating, we got a ghrelin bar up, and then our leptin bar down, coming from adipose tissue. And then after eating, they switch places. So those hormones work in direct antithesis, and they essentially signal to our brain to tell us when to eat and when to stop eating. So really important. And then how about blood glucose regulators? Because this is going to come when it comes to intermittent fasting. This is a really important part of what intermittent fasting actually does. We know what insulin is, a hormone produced by the pancreas and released after a meal, and it tells cells to, take up blood glucose and not release it into our bloodstream. Because ideally, after you've eaten a meal, our blood is going to get a fair share of carbohydrates, and our blood glucose is going to be higher. So it tells, hey, this will decrease the blood sugar, telling us to kind of relax, that kind of thing. And then glucagon is released when we are on an empty stomach mostly, and responsible for maintaining blood glucose levels when we're in the absence of food. So when we're not eating carbohydrates, we want to still maintain our blood glucose levels, because if our blood glucose levels go down, that's an issue, and our brain will not function. So our body needs to find a way to make sure we have a good balance of blood glucose going on. And those hormones also work in a balance, just like leptin and just like ghrelin. So they work really well. And diabetes is, of course, you guys might have experienced, of course, having people in your lives that may have this disease. And it's basically, in general term, it's a disease of blood glucose dysregulation, generally hyperglycemia. And there's 2 types of diabetes. We have type 2 diabetes, and cells of the pancreas are desensitized to insulin, meaning that we're producing insulin from our pancreas, but basically our cells are producing insulin, but our cells in our body are desensitized to it, meaning that they can't recognize the insulin. We can't take up the blood glucose. And type 1 diabetes, cells of the pancreas don't even produce insulin. So that means that's a genetic thing. So type 2 diabetes is mostly a lifestyle thing. and type 1 diabetes is genetic. So type 2 diabetes you can get by obesity, bad lifestyle choice in the sense that if you have a disposition for obesity, or if you're eating food that's high in fat content over time, or you're eating too much in a caloric surplus for many years, increasing your BMI risk factors and such, you can increase your risk for type 2 diabetes. So that was the general kind of the general aspects of the hormones and how those work. I just wanted to touch on that because this will help us understand what intermittent fasting actually does. So, of course, like I said, you've heard about it, and just generally see the IF, that means intermittent fasting. That's just a short term for it. So we know it's a new fad, and it's basically, it's based on this principle called time restricted eating. So there's different types of ways we can restrict eating. Of course, we talked about caloric restriction, and that's the best one, because no matter what, it's calories in, calories out. Can't get away from it. It's the first law of thermodynamics. It's a fact. But there's many different types of diets. We've heard of macronutrient restriction diets, such as keto diets, where we restrict carbohydrate intake. We've also heard of specific paleo diets. So there's different types of restrictive diets, but this is a time restricted diet, meaning that you set up eating windows and you try to keep your insulin levels like at bay and at a stable area. So you can see here on the far right, these are insulin spikes. Remember what I said is that after we eat, our body releases insulin to take up blood glucose. So our insulin is basically releasing these spikes, as you can see here. And what happens, the goal of intermittent fasting is to keep these spikes, to not basically have spikes, to keep it at a baseline. So we don't want an insulin spike happening. And so you have these windows in which you can eat. And if you're in the window, you can eat. And if you're not in the window, then you cannot eat. So a common intermittent fasting setup is, which I see, is a 16 and 8 window. So out of 24 hours in a day, you have like a pie 24 hours. You can spend 16 hours of the 24 you spend fasting, and 8 hours you spend eating. So you have an 8-hour window to eat, and everything, before or after that, you can't eat. So that's generally intermittent fasting. So for example, from 12 to 8 p.m. is your eating window, and you got to fast before 12 p.m. So if you wake up at 8, you got to fast until 12 p.m., right? And then after 8 p.m., you can't eat. So if you go to bed at 12, and you got to take that time from 8 p.m. to 12 midnight, you can't eat. So you're essentially going to be skipping breakfast usually with intermittent fasting. And another common way to do intermittent fasting, which I've seen, and I actually used to do intermittent fasting for a while, and I lived by it. I thought it was an awesome thing to do. But as I learned more about fitness and my body, I realized, it might not be the best thing, and we're going to talk about that. But mainly what I did is I just would eat 5-6 hours within waking. A lot of people just, 5 hours within waking, just don't eat. General intermittent fasting tool. So what's its main goal? What does intermittent fasting do? Well, it says that, quite simply, if you eat less, it's getting you to eat less in the hopes that you eat less calories. So by restricting the time in which you eat, intermittent fasting is saying, oh, hopefully you're going to eat less. If I restrict, only 8 hours for you to eat, you're not going to eat so much. And then hopefully you will eat subsequently less calories. Because like I said, it comes down to calories in, calories out. If we're in a caloric surplus, you're going to gain weight. If you're in a caloric deficit, you're going to lose weight. So it all comes down to that. So, yeah, like I said, hopefully you can eat less, but can it actually backfire? It seems pretty intuitive. If I decrease that time which I can eat, hopefully I will eat less, but can it backfire? And yes, it actually can. And it doesn't work for everyone. And there's a few reasons why. So recall the leptin and ghrelin relationship, like we said, leptin keeps you full, ghrelin keeps you hungry. So unfortunately, when we fast for long periods of time, you can get hit with this large wave of ghrelin, meaning that this hunger hormone ghrelin, it can come with a vengeance. I don't know if you guys ever felt like really hungry to the point where you just can't think about anything else. Often with first-time intermittent fasters, when they're within their 3rd or 4th hour fasting, they just get this huge wave of hunger hormone ghrelin. They just want to eat so bad, but they know, okay, I have to fast until my eating window. And the thing about it is that this hormone ghrelin, if you're staving off hunger for a long enough period of time, then your body's able to, you can basically run the risk of binging, meaning that when you hit this window, now I hit 12 p.m. and I can eat, you will start eating more than you should, because it's basically doing the opposite of what intermittent fasting is supposed to do, because ghrelin will come back with a vengeance to make you very, very hungry than you usually would if you would have eaten in the morning. So that ghrelin hormone is going to be building up, making you more hungrier. You hit your window to eat, and then you just go crazy. So I've seen a lot of people actually gain weight on intermittent fasting because Now they're waiting for their eating window. Grelins keep going, it wants to eat. It's signaling to your brain, I need to eat, I need to eat. And then you hit that window and then boom, it all goes south. So just because you hit your fasting window does not mean that you're going to lose weight. So it always comes back to calories in, calories out. So people often think, and what I originally thought when I was first getting into fitness is that, hey, if I hit my eating window, I can eat whatever I want, do what I want that window of that 8-hour window, and I'll be fine. No, it still comes into calories in, calories out. If you eat in a caloric surplus in those 8 hours, then you're going to be gaining weight. It doesn't matter if you hit those windows or not. Hitting the windows is incidental, and you kind of lose track of what you're trying to do. You're trying to be in a caloric deficit. And just because you hit your intermittent fasting windows or you're hitting your windows, your 8-hour eating window, does not mean you're going to be losing weight at all. It's just a general tool to restrict, hopefully, the amount you're eating. It doesn't mean that you're going to be losing weight specifically. People also get really obsessive if a specific food will break their fast. So let's say you wake up at 8 a.m. and you fast until noon. They got to make sure, will coffee break my fast? Will this break my fast? But they're kind of getting too caught up in the whole insulin thing, and they're not really understanding that it comes down to calories in, calories out. Nothing to do with the specific levels of hormone. I know a lot of specific medical journals talk about differences in hormones and how that can change different caloric intakes and how you burn fat. But in non-pathophysiological conditions, meaning that in a regular individual without any specific pathology that you'd have to go to the doctor for, it's still calories in, calories out. That can vary with specific diseases and specific things. Your hormonal imbalance can be different and can change throughout the day, but it doesn't make a significant impact on whether it's still to do with calories in and calories out. Don't worry. A lot of people doing intermittent fasting are so scared that if they break their fast, then they'll basically gain weight. They think that when you're in this fasting window from when you wake up and then from when you eat your first meal, you're basically burning fat. You're in this fat burning stage where I'm not eating any food and I'm burning fat. And that's not true. You might be, technically burning fat if you haven't eaten for a while, but then it comes down to your total calories for the day, because then you have the 8-hour window when you're eating. So it all balances out by the end of the day. It doesn't really make a difference at all. So if you take the same amount of calories and you put that in the 8-hour window and have the same amount of calories, but then spread it out throughout the day, you would have no difference because it's still calories in, calories out. So they're kind of becoming too obsessive about their windows or time eating windows, and it doesn't work out for them. So what you should be doing is you should be eating a small breakfast. Like, you don't have to eat this huge breakfast. It doesn't have to be great, but within an hour or so of waking, just eat around 100, 200 calories a breakfast. And you might think, oh, that's nothing. Actually, you can eat a lot within those amount of calories. You just got to be smart with what you eat in that specific time. So my morning routine, specifically what I do, is what I've been doing for, a year and a half, almost 2 years now, after I stopped intermittent fasting, is that I've been having breakfast every morning. It's been fine. So basically you start off with a large glass of water, right? That's really important. So because you've been sleeping for like 8 hours, 7 to 9 hours, you probably have not been drinking water while you're sleeping, hopefully not, right? So that means that you're going to be dehydrated. So when you get up in the morning, the first thing you should have is your big glass of water, right? Don't go reach for the caffeine first, have some water. It's very important, specifically also if you play sports or want to perform in the gym. Not having enough water will severely decrease your performance in a lot of things, energy and everything else. So have your glass of water. And then black coffee, or even I said this in session 1 too, avoid the general liquid calories. If you can't have black coffee yet, have 0-calorie sweetener or cashew milk. Don't go for the full calorie cream and sugar. That's not going to be good for your morning routine. You want to keep a low calorie breakfast, and you want to keep the liquid calories at a certain intake. So just coffee and water. That's going to actually blunt your appetite, by the way, because like I said, even if it's liquid, the distension of your stomach will actually signal to your brain that you're full, the actual increase in size of your stomach. So water and black coffee will actually, blunt your hunger pretty nice if you're looking for that. Then breakfast options specifically, what I've been doing recently, I'll take 100 grams of blueberries, 100 grams of Greek yogurt, and 1 cup of cashew milk, and around 2 packets of any 0-calorie sweetener of choice, could be Splenda or anything like that. You're looking at around 135 calories and around 10 grams of protein, and it keeps you full. It's a large volume meal, right? You want to have low calorically dense, high volume meals. We talked about this in sessions 1, 2, and 3, a really important thing. So low calorically dense, high volume. This is what I stick for in the morning. So this is going to make me feel full. It's like a huge, big smoothie thing. And it's a great option for a breakfast instead of having to fast and tell yourself you're not hungry when you really are. A second thing is a pre-protein bar. I love these things. You can get them at you can get them at Walmart, Costco, Shoppers Drug Mart, London Drugs. You can get them at a lot of places, but basically they're just 190 to 200-ish calories and around 20 grams of protein. I have a few of them here. They're like a lot of different flavors. This one's like birthday cake. It's like 2 grams of sugar, but it tastes awesome. Strawberry, red velvet, anything. And they're really good. They're high in protein, pretty much protein, and they taste almost like a chocolate bar or something, but it's only like 2 grams of sugar and it's great. So 20 grams of protein, it's a really good option in the morning. It's a good breakfast snack. Especially if you're running out the door, you don't have a lot of time to cook stuff, grabbing one of these is a great option. Because it's higher in protein, it'll keep you full, by the way. Like we said, fiber and protein are high satiating macronutrients and will keep you full for longer periods of time. And the third one, so we have so you can make like a large omelet. So I talked last time, these egg creation things, they're fully natural eggs. They're just low fat, fat free. If you like yellow eggs or eggs with the yolk in it as opposed to egg whites, these are a good option. Or you can just have egg whites, and a 200 calorie omelet's like this big and it's like 30 grams of protein. Is really filling. So that's a good option. And also Greek yogurt with just some 0-calorie Walden Farm syrup. It's, like I said, I talk about this all the time, like every session, I think I bring up this syrup. You can get it here at this URL. Only 200 to 300 grams of this yogurt is like less than 200 calories. You're looking maybe 150 calories and around 30 to 20 grams of protein. So really high in protein, and it's really filling. So Greek yogurt is a staple in my diet. It's for a good, nice breakfast, quick breakfast to get out the door and get going. So the whole goal is to kind of keep your hunger at bay, right? You want to make sure that you don't need to have a huge breakfast, just, big enough to keep your hunger good, that you can wait a few hours, go to work, come back, and then have a nice larger lunch and dinner, right? Whereas if you're going to be fasting until then, you're going to be thinking about food, that ghrelin is going to be building up, you're going to be hungry, you hit that lunch, and you're probably going to end up eating the caloric equivalent of 2 lunches as opposed to 1. So what I say is just have something small. You can see all these options here are, not hard to make, pretty quick. Grab them, get out the door. Just have something in the morning, right? And especially if you're interested in building muscle, fasting for a large part of the day for the first part is not optimal for growing muscles. Specifically, the research has shown that 3 to 4 protein feeds per day is optimal. So even if it's just 10 to 20 grams of protein just in the morning, that's great, right? The more opportunities you give your muscle a chance to get some protein in, the more opportunities it's going to grow, right? Because the protein is what makes the muscle grow. The gym stuff increases muscle damage. It damages your muscle so your body can repair that muscle, make it bigger in the future. And how it repairs that muscle is with protein. So you want to make sure that you're not fasting for these long periods of time, because you can run the risk of your body tapping into your muscle stores and breaking down that muscle. So keep that in mind. So that being said, is there a place for intermittent fasting, and does it actually, does it work in some circumstances? And I mentioned type 2 diabetes before, because intermittent fasting might actually be the best treatment for type 2 diabetes. Dr. Jason Fung, he's out of Toronto area, and he is an endocrinologist, I believe, and he's a large advocate for intermittent fasting, and he wants that to be used instead of copious amounts of pharmaceutical interventions. So a lot of pharmaceutical companies kind of have been going against him simply because he's speaking the truth. He's saying, let's use dietary strategies as opposed to these specific pharmaceutical drugs that can have possible negative impacts. So this is a great article to read if you're interested. It's just the therapeutic use of intermittent fasting for people with type 2 diabetes as an alternative to insulin. So like I said, people with type 2 diabetes have insulin desensitivity, meaning that they can't recognize their insulin. Their cells cannot recognize that insulin and then use that signal to take up the blood glucose into their cells. So they end up having high levels of blood glucose. And what Dr. Jason Fung has noticed, that when these patients are fasting, it actually increases the sensitivity of these cells to insulin, such that these cells can now recognize insulin and take up the blood glucose so they can rid themselves of this hyperglycemia. So this is an amazing treatment for type 2 diabetics. It has great efficacy, and yeah, it's helped them a lot. So specifically, if you're a type 2 diabetic, this is a great option and a great treatment. But Even without any pathophysiology, let's say you're not a type 2 diabetic, I know tons of people who intermittent fasting has worked for them. It's allowed them to lose weight. And if it has, keep going. But for a lot of people, it might not work. And if it doesn't work, don't keep trying to make it work, is what I'm saying. So what will happen is that if you keep trying to make it work, you can run the risk of basically hitting a brick wall and you won't be able to go farther with your fitness goals. So if it works for you and you're finding intermittent fasting work okay, because I know some people have busy morning schedules, need to run to work, they grab a coffee, water, whatever, and then they're fine eating 4 to 5 hours later. If you're able to lose weight doing this and it's working great, then please keep doing it. But just know it might not work for everyone. And like a lot of dietary strategies, the one that works for you is going to be the best one. It's that plain and simple. So now into a recipe of the week. Usually every week, like I said, at the end, I like to bring out a little recipe. This is blueberry protein pancakes. I love these a lot. I talked about my protein French toast on session 1, I believe. And this is like large amounts of protein, like 80 grams, 60 to 80 grams protein, depending on how much you use, protein powder and stuff. So first I take around 100 grams of Kodiak cakes mix. You can get this at Costco or even online. And then 100 grams of blueberries. Then 1 large egg and a scoop of protein powder of choice, any whey protein powder. I like using this Ghost protein. It's Chips Ahoy protein. It's really cool. You can get it online. It's by Ghost. You just toss it in there. And then, any 0-calorie sweetener of choice, because you want the stuff to taste good, right? You want your pancakes to taste sweet, preferably. And then Gaily whipped cream. You can find this at a lot of grocery stores. Like if you're in Ontario, find it in Loblaws, I believe. And then if you're in BC, you can find it at Thrifty Foods, Save On, basically anywhere has it. And it's low fat whipped cream, and it tastes the same as regular fat whipped cream, and it's basically half the calories. And then of course, my best friend here, Walden Farm syrup, which I just brought up earlier. Yeah, so it's pretty easy to make, and this will make around 3 to 4 pancakes. And of course, using the cashew milk up there, way lower in calories. You're looking at maybe around 700 calories for 4 large pancakes you can see down there in the bottom right. Usually maybe if you go to IHOP with all the toppings, and this is including the toppings and everything, is not even, it's maybe around 680 calories. If you go to IHOP, you're looking maybe upwards of 1,500 calories with all the toppings and everything. So you can increase your protein levels and cut the calories in half. This is what I mean when I say low calorically dense meals with high in volume. You're getting 4 large pancakes with really low calories. So low calorically dense, high volume, making you full. So this is the type of food where you can experiment with. If you have foods high in protein and fiber, chances are you're going to feel more full, and it's going to help you with your fitness goals. So yeah, that's generally the end of this session. Now I'll take any questions. Just to let you know, next Wednesday, again, February 17th, every Wednesday, same time, same Zoom link. Session 5 is going to be talking about scale anxiety. I know this is a big, issue in the fitness community, and just people in general are going to just be talking about this. And, feel free to email me. Like I said, please, I love to hear your questions, any and all of them. Contact me, any of my email or social media accounts. And like I said, a workout video is coming soon in vlogs to my YouTube channel. So please keep posted for that. So I'll take any questions now if anyone has anything. And please ask questions, because I guarantee other people have the same questions. So please, don't feel shy. This is a fun environment. Anything? Someone answer. I can't quite hear. Yeah. Does anyone else have any questions at all? Please, I guarantee you, people have the same question. Oh, someone's texting the chat.
Yeah, I had a question.
Yeah, how you doing?
Yeah, good. Great presentation. Really enjoyed it. Yeah, so I was just wondering, so if you just say again, is there any type of fasting you do recommend, or what would you personally recommend for a person who's trying to just cut down on their body fat?
So that's a great question. So mainly is what I spoke about in my session 2 and 3 about tracking calories and being in a calorically deficit. So what I was kind of going for, I'll just go to that slide here, is that you want to treat your overall calories for the day as like a bank account, and how you choose to use those calories is up to you. So what I recommend is still having your breakfast, but have it like a low calorically dense breakfast, and then spread out your meals. So mainly your lunch and dinner are higher calories and more food, but definitely still try to have your breakfast if you can, because especially if you're trying to build muscle, getting some protein in the morning is really important. So that's what I would recommend mostly.
Okay, yeah, that's good to know. Thank you.
Thanks, man. Anything else, guys?
Yeah, I have a quick question about the pure protein bars. So I actually buy these myself and I love them, but I was just wondering, do you buy any of these in bulk as well?
Yeah, so in Costco, they have them in bulk usually. They have like 3 boxes in one and they're really cheaper. So if you want to give them in bulk, I'd recommend going to Costco. But sometimes I go to places like Sharp or Drug Mart and like other places because they have like different flavors that you can't find at Costco. Costco sometimes only has like 3 different types of flavors. So like, yeah, usually if you want to get in bulk, go to Costco. If you want other flavors like, you know, like red velvet cake, birthday cake, other kind of fun stuff, then you can go to smaller stores. But yeah, basically Costco has them. Most grocery, and I know Ontario Loblaws has different flavors. So yeah, most places do have them.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
No worries. Right. Anything else, guys? Perfect. I think that's all the questions. If, like I said, if anybody has any other specific questions that they'd like to ask me after the fact or email me questions, please do not hesitate. So thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. Seriously, thank you for the support, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Thank you.
Thanks.